Hey, welcome to the conversation. You're with Andy Mason, and this is the Heaven and Business podcast, helping you navigate the messy intersection of faith, family, and business. And I've got with me today Sam Schneider. Sam's company is Navispect. You're going to hear all about that. But here's the context for what we want to talk about is we as Heaven and Business work with a bunch of people, obviously faith integrated or biblically based growth, advancing kingdom, partnering with God, building better business and multiplying kingdom impact. And in the midst of this, we've got a range of people that we work with. And so you pick where you're at in this spectrum. I've got a couple of clients that are using AI technologies in a plumbing, HVAC, AC company and in a staffing company. And they've got systems that have been automated, leads that are being recruited. They've got accounting systems that have got this integrated, embedded, and they're getting efficiencies and processes and details that's enabling them to such a degree that they're now looking at, wow, we can actually expand. Are there other companies that we could buy and integrate our systems to grow through mergers and acquisitions? And at the other end of the spectrum, I've got people that I know that are like, I don't want to touch that because it'll steal my brain. And so I don't know where you're at on the spectrum, but the beauty is this conversation with Sam today is to unpack how, as a leader, as a faith-centered leader, do I look at what's going on with technology, with AI, with all of these different things, and how do I identify what can I do as a leader, as a faith-centered leader, as a business owner? What can I pay attention? How do I even identify the areas that it can really help me? How do I make sure that I'm not outsourcing my faith to a machine? We're going to unpack some of those questions and then leave you with some real outcomes in terms of applying this for yourself, doing this in your connection with Jesus in your business, and then looking at how can you leverage this tool to help you grow. So, Sam, thank you so much for joining us today.
So good to be here with you, Andy.
And so, Sam, before we dive in, you've got a very interesting background from like education, training, through to what you're doing with technology. Give us a little bit of a background of who you are and what led you to be in this space to start with.
That is a really fun story. So I'm originally from Kansas, and I'm currently in Taiwan. We just mentioned that right before. And that's a whole story of a Randy Clark session and being on the floor and hearing the Lord speak to me and all of that. But really, I was in software for 9 years as a software architect and engineer. And when AI came out, it just upended everything for everyone. You know, we stopped writing code, for example, and we started seeing, you started hearing all this hype everywhere about what was AI going to do. And there was all this fear. And I was just really tired of the hype. And I remember going to sleep one night. You know how you're kind of like, something's not right in your spirit. And you say, Lord, I need a way to talk about this. I want to communicate to people about this. And I'd already had some words about getting into AI and stuff. And I'd done a master's degree in computer science, and I still didn't understand AI, to be honest. I had classes on it, but I just didn't feel like I grasped it. And one night as I was going to bed, it just dropped into my spirit that there's this fundamental difference between humans and computers, AI, whatever you want to say, that is, we have a connection to God. And we talk about it, spiritual intelligence and stuff. It's artificial intelligence. It has no spiritual intelligence. There's no way to receive anything from God in AI. Whereas that's who we are. And so once that clarified, it became this process of that changes everything else, because most of the people that are doing AI out there these days, they think that you just have a biological computer that's your brain. And their goal is to completely replace it, which they think they can succeed at. And that seems really scary to everyone. But if we know that that's not who we are, that analytical side of our brain, when we go to bed, we're actually supposed to say, hey, turn off spirit. I want you to communicate with God right now. Analytical, you did a good job. Go to bed now. And analytical is all that AI is and all it can ever be. And so then we have to go back to the roots of who we are and our dominion in Christ. When God came to Adam, he said, I'm giving you dominion over the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. And so that dominion is not being taken away as AI comes out. And so as we see people succeeding with AI, they're people that they recognize their God-given authority and their dominion, and they recognize that they're way smarter than AI. Maybe they don't know as much or they can't write as well as AI. And so they're using AI to elevate themselves
Yeah.
through those kind of task-based things. What God actually said was toil. That's the stuff that AI does really well at. It's terrible at creative thinking. And so we need to learn how to capture that. And that's what I'm all about, is helping people do that individually and then put it at a whole business process level.
So to come back to a bunch of people that are working and just wrestling with how do I make sure that I don't outsource my intimacy, my authority. Now, the funniest thing is many of those people are already doing that by deferring to their pastor or a missionary or a spouse. They're the more spiritual one. So, but let's come to this, the tool that is AI, artificial intelligence in some form, whether that's Grok or Chat, or there's a myriad of different tools that are just blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
What would be some guardrails to ensure that I'm not outsourcing? Like, I love how you said my dominion or my authority or my connection to this tool.
So I'll give an example of when I first started, like everyone else, trying to use it. And I had to write a LinkedIn post, and I had something I wanted to write, and it would have been great. It would have been me. And I wrote into the chat, Chat GPT, I think at the time, I want to write this LinkedIn post. And I just give this really general description, and it gave me this terrible post. And I sort of cleaned it up, and I had this moment of like, this must be better than what I would have written because it seems so polished. And I posted it. And to this day, I still regret all the emojis that were on it. I would never do that. Right. And so that was an instance of me outsourcing who I was.
Yeah.
And what I like to teach people to do is that we have to put ourselves in a position of dominion over this conversation in the first place. You have to realize that you're actually more intelligent because of who God made you than this intelligence that you're talking to. And so what I teach people to do is you don't let it output anything until you've forced it to ask you questions.
Yeah.
So you say, hey, I want to do this. Here's everything I can think about it. Now ask me 5 questions that will help me do a better job on this. Ask me 5 questions that will clarify my thinking. And then answer those questions. And what that does is it draws out of you that inner thinking, that stuff that God's already put inside of you. And then that forms the conversation. And then at that point, you're actually using AI for what it was created for, which is to help you output documents and communicate, but it doesn't do the thinking for you anymore.
Yeah. Super good. And I love it. I mean, the sense that that's how I use it. I will interact, dialogue, and get it to do, it's my cheapest research assistant. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I love this. What you're saying is, actually, don't just verbally put something in, turn it around and ask questions and ask me the questions so that I go deeper, which effectively turn it into not just a research assistant, but a coach to draw out of you the things that are in you that you don't even realize.
Yes.
And I think knowing you, Sam, it would be also, especially if you're doing this in any context, pause. Holy Spirit, how can I partner with you in this, with this technology? Anything that I go to first seek the counsel of the Lord. That's where it becomes an idol. So am I defaulting to chat before I'm going to his word or having a conversation with him? Those are some critical keys as well. Any other keys that you'd say, which would be just guardrails to help us ensure that we keep the dominion and the stewardship and the connection here rather than outsourcing that?
So what I teach people to do is, especially if you're putting it into your business processes, is to really evaluate each part of your process and think carefully, is this a dominion or a creative section of your business? Or is this a mechanical or toil section of your business? And if it's creative, you just don't put AI into it. Now, you might have stuff like I used to write code, right, as a software developer. And so I thought that coding was creative, but actually it wasn't. It was the process of building software was creative, but they were so integrated in my mind, I couldn't separate them. And so once AI came out, we had to figure out how to take them apart and say, actually, coding is mechanical, and the creativity is figuring out what people need and how to present software to people. And so you have to go into your business and find each of those sections, map them out really good, and then decide creative versus mechanical, and then replace the mechanical ones only. And if you do that, then you'll have a pretty safe system where AI is not going to be stepping onto the dominion that God's given you.
And that's I love that, mechanical versus creative. And I'm just thinking that for me is like I do a blog post once a week. That's creative. Coming up with the idea, the concept, the outcomes, the intentional steps. So that's the creative place. The mechanically putting it together. So I'll actually verbally record it, and then it will. I can get an AI tool to structure that better, so that I'm like, wow, actually that's presented it in a much better way. But it's my voice, my tone, my message, my creativity, and so I'm finding a great use of that. What are some other examples of creativity versus mechanical in different business types that you've worked with? Give us some examples of companies that you've actually worked with.
Sure. So I'll give you an example of a nonprofit I'm working with right now. So there's this lady in there that she is amazing at spending time with homeless and disenfranchised people. And so I've gone out on outreaches with her, and she's just sitting there with this homeless person that she's known. She's praying with them. She's ministering to them. And then she spends, I think she said it was 2 hours a month, going into their event system and having to check it every few days as they do signups for the next outreach. And then she has to copy all the people over to the other system. And it's not who she is, but it's part of her job. And she does it joyfully and she's happy, but she should be spending more time ministering with homeless people. And so that's her creative side. And so we went in and we built this. It's almost stupid simple how easy it is to do it. We just built a system that whenever they create a new event, it automatically registers it into their customer relations system and moves all the data every time. So now she never has to touch it anymore. And that's the kind of thing, you can find it in every business process. You don't think you have it until you really look deep, and then you find it somewhere. Somebody's doing something. They're reading every email and they're going, oh yeah, this is a customer complaint. I need to forward this on to so-and-so, those type of things. And just get rid of those things right away so that you can free those people up to do what they're created to do.
Yeah, and that's really good. See, I know with the plumbing HVAC company, the mechanical parts of inventory and inventory management, and plumbers that go out with set number of things and pieces of things and comes back and they've got to reconcile, and then that gets reconciled back to inventory. And it's one thing. It used to be just paper. I mean, you can imagine plumbers with paper. And then secondly, it got digitized. But now that is all done. It's AI is getting there, reconciling everything, ordering parts. It's all automated, and it's saving them hours and hours. They're doing that also in their accounting. So then it corresponds. It's automatically. So now there's not gaps. So it's like, did I install that part or this part? Where was that through it? All AI can then work between those systems, not only speed it up, but actually remove errors as well. What's another example of somebody that you've worked with as a business and what that looked like? Just so people understand just the different kinds of uses of this.
Okay. There's another business they work. I can't go into all the details of the industry, but they had this process that they had to go, and in a 2-week period of time, they had to search 1,000-ish records. And for each record, they had to look up 4 different PDFs and then copy all the information out of those PDFs onto a spreadsheet. And then once they had that information, they would make a quick calculation and then have it ready to present to a client. So it was about 80 hours of work in a very short period of time. And so it was actually constraining what they could do with their business. It was like, we can't really go any beyond this and keep serving clients at this level. And we're killing ourselves too, right? And so we built a process that uses AI to take those steps, because they're just mechanical steps. I mean, there's no creativity, and you always open this PDF and you do this. So it would read the PDFs for them, and it would do the calculation. And so we didn't fully automate it, but we got it down to about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so now we've got a 40 times efficiency improvement on a core business process that's actually a limit on the company's growth.
And boom, away it goes. So anytime, and a lot of that is it's mechanical systems versus creative systems. If people would even just take a step back and have a look at their business, that'll, without even applying AI, that's going to help them actually create systems. And if people are getting stuck on, I hate systems, well, the kingdom of God is the administration and operating system of Jesus, giving you power over sin, which is moral excellence, power over systems, which is systems that lead to life, cultural excellence, systems that are noble. There's systems, and systems are what enables businesses to grow, families to grow, communities to grow, systems that serve, not control. So if you're stuck on systems, and you're a follower of Jesus, just go back and look at the Bible, how important systems are, and how God set that up in a way to serve and facilitate growth. So Sam, if I come to you as a business owner and I'm like, okay, what can you do for me? And how would you work with me so that we could actually practically, I mean, what's the ROI? How does this actually work? And how, because I could kind of, as a business owner, it's almost like, where do I start? I come to you. I'm like, I know a guy, this Sam, he understands dominion in terms of I'm a steward and a servant serving at the pleasure of God. He's given me a responsibility and I want to do that well. And now there's a tool that I could use to help me do what I'm doing better so that I could serve people. I mean, if you could just answer that, if I answered that question, what if I had more time to actually spend a one-on-one, 1-on-5 with people in discipleship and training and developing them, whatever that is? I mean, that's huge. Now, if people then just use that time to then dive deeper into their business, and that's another conversation to have. But let's just say, okay, this is going to help me. I can see how it's going to help me. What does that look like in working with you, Sam?
So you have to figure out and just get really honest with yourself. Where are you on this journey? So like, my daughter's 10 right now. When she gets her first, learner's permit, I'm not going to take her on a road trip. I'm going to take her to the gas station and teach her how to fill up the car. Then I'm going to take her to the parking lot. I'm going to show her how to make a right turn, how to stop. And I have to do that so that she can get some confidence and be safe once she gets going. So if you're at the point where I've chatted with ChatGPT, I've used it to plan a trip or something, you've gone a little bit into it. But you still need to really understand how to work with it and how to get the results out that you need. And so if you're at that kind of starting level, then we have this group coaching program that you can join. And it's got some courses that'll take you from like the very basics from this concept, not just of what tools to use, because there's so many tools, but if you understand the core of your own dominion, your own authority, and your own creativity, how do you bring that out? What we talked about at the beginning is how do you get it to ask you questions and those type of things? So then we take you through that process and then move you into, how do I start doing automations? How do I take these breakthroughs that I got with ChatGPT and I start putting them into the core business processes? So yes, I made a ChatGPT, say a custom GPT that can reconcile the plumber's inventory, my guys when they come back in the truck. How do I take that and turn it into an app where they snap a picture and it automatically does it and they don't even have to think about it, Like that's the progression that you need to be on, right? And so you have to identify where you are. And if you're all the way on the other end of like, I'm already using it, I'm ready to go, then you probably have a bunch of app ideas and stuff too that you're ready to make. And so we also have a team that is doing that kind of stuff right now. So we're building AI agents that are, cleaning up data in the background and like doing, like very cool stuff we're able to do. So it's a continuum. And so figure out where you are. Something that we will, we usually just need to have a conversation. Where do you want to go? Where are you at right now? And then in that process, you'll either probably start with the coaching program or you'll just jump right into making your next piece of software.
Yeah. And if someone's like, man, I mean, what does this cost? Because that's one of the things too, where people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start. I need to get someone that I trust. And I guess, and that's why I'm letting you guys know I trust Sam. Uh, Someone that I trust that could help me, that it's not just going to, screw me over and then I end up with nothing, like a marketing consultant that's not kingdom centered. So, Sam, what does it kind of cost? If you say, no, who's your ideal client? And you said there's a range. If I'm small, I'm a starting up, go through this program. There's some coaching and some training, some reading, and you can do that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
What do I expect if I've got a company that's generating about $500,000 a year? I've got a number of employees. What roughly, any idea, or is it just so varied in terms of what it would cost to start to implement some of these things?
So the coaching program is $129 a month per seat.
Yeah.
Right. So usually in companies that we work with, you don't put your whole team through it. You almost always have 2 or 3 people that you already know as a leader. These are the people that should be in it. And so then we have this weekly, I basically copied you, Andy, we have a weekly call. And this is the time where we talk through stuff. And so this is just starting out. So the calls at the beginning will be very, very focused on whoever's there. But what I see is that the people that implement a project successfully are the ones that their eyes light up and they move on to bigger stuff.
Yeah.
If you just watch YouTube videos, I mean, you can start with that, but you won't get it. You won't get there. It's kind of like, all hard work brings a profit. Mere talk leads only to poverty. That's this thing. You have to start with a project. And so this program is built around the concept of, when you come in, we want to help you identify a project. And just like I said with the gas station illustration, it'll probably be small if you're just trying to figure out where to start. Maybe it's, I want all of my emails to be checked and I want to have a summary of the ones I definitely need to respond to today based on these criteria. Something like that you can get in successfully early on. We will support you through that process of getting that going. And then you've got courses that you can follow throughout that process. Now, then you've got the huge range after that of where do you want to go when you start putting it into a business. So at the low end, when we're talking about building custom software and integrations, you're probably going to be running in the low end $7,000 kind of thing. Yeah. But obviously it can go, sky's the limit how far you want to go. Our goal, though, is in this range, a lot of times people are getting these huge quotes because they're not really thinking specifically about what they need. And so if you go in, and that's something that we can also do, is instead of building the software, let's just make a prototype and let's just actually figure out the architecture of what you want. Yeah. Let's have some conversations. And so you don't have necessarily the working software by the end, but you know exactly what you want and you've cut it down from 150K to 20K, you know? And so I highly recommend, just like we talked about at the beginning, you ask AI, hey, poke some holes in this idea.
Ask me some questions.
Yeah. So if I'm going to do a pitch deck, for example, this is something I did. I made this pitch deck for somebody, and I'm not an expert in like pitch decks, but they said, hey, here's what we got. Let's run this idea through AI. And so we did, and using this, I call it the Socratic AI method because it's, the Socratic method. And I say, hey, AI, pretend like you're an investor. Ask me hard questions. And then whenever I didn't know one, I would just go contact the business owner for this. And we had some conversations and we answered all the questions and now we have it. And so you have to do the same thing when you're trying to figure out the software that you want to make. Yep. If you give a generic request, you'll get a generic price. But if you can do some back and forth, you might say, oh, this whole piece I can cut out. I just saved, $30,000.
Yeah, and I love that. And so here's the practical example. I mean, we've a heaven in business with the activity that we've done. We've got a custom converter, so converts testimonies into case studies. That's a custom GPT. We've developed that. it's great. But then I take those case studies, uploaded them into another custom GPT, and put some frameworks and guides around it in the tone and voice of Andy Mason with the teaching and training of Heaven and Business. And we've built this, and it actually coaches people. So a digital coach around kingdom business. It's really, really good. And I'm thinking, oh, how would we do this? We need to put it into an app. And you were one of the people that I had a conversation with, but we got some quotes externally, $100,000 to build this into that, and then an ongoing monthly cost. And those are people that I know that I trust would do a great job.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, and the faster that this is growing, I'm realizing, you know what? We're actually going to give that away for free as a part of the Heaven and Business community to seed and help people grow, because it's growing so fast. And it's like these things that you're saying is like, I've got to get back to systems engineer. What's the real issue? And what's the point of paying something crazy, crazy money when I can have a conversation with Sam, join his program for $129 and save me $100,000? That's great. And in the end, we're going from, how are we going to justify paying that amount of money? Would we get that many people? No. But if we give it away, it becomes an added value that's enhancing and training people. So I just want to affirm that process that you're going through is super good. Sam, how does someone get in touch with you? If they say, yep, there's the coaching, but I've got 200 employees and I'm lagging behind, whether that's a services industry, a manufacturing industry, I'm recognizing I need to have a conversation about where I could use this, even the questions to ask. How do they get a hold of you? What does that even look like to start?
So you can go to our website, which should show up here on the screen, navispect.com.
Yeah.
And there's a big button that says schedule my free AI evaluation, and just put your info in. We'll send you a booking link, and you can get a 30-minute call with either me or one of my team, and just start asking those questions. And through that conversation, we'll be able to identify kind of where you are and then steer you in a direction so that you can get successful on this journey. Because really our goal is to get you going on the journey. Once you get 1 or 2 wins under your belt, I mean, you're going to be like the people that Andy shared at the beginning of the call here. You're just going to take off.
Yeah. And so good. So I love that. So in terms of next step action, number one, ask yourself, where are you at in the Dominion stewardship question? You've been given dominion. Are you operating in that? And not just with AI, but in your walk with Jesus, in all of life. This is a tool that will enhance whatever you're doing. But as in with any tool, I can outsource my dominion, my stewardship, my authority to that. And this is really, really important. Start there. Second question that Sam's kind of provoking is, where are you at on the journey with this? I start with the basics. Do you understand this? Have you used it? Even getting some summaries of how would I practically use this myself? And he's got some systems that could help you there, but you can do that yourself also. And the third step is break down your company, your systems and your processes, and separate all of the different activities and tasks within the company from big picture to little picture. Which ones are mechanical? Just answer this call, execute this email, implement this process. Mechanical compared to creating those systems, creating those processes, creating that message or whatever that may be. So many of those things. And then check, is that really true? Is that actually creative? Or is that just simply a mechanical execution process? And then anything that's mechanical, you can look at how could we implement some tools to add efficiencies to that, so that more and more of my time becomes the things that are irreplaceable, the one-on-one in-person connections, whether that's virtual or in person, or making yourself available to come on a trip with us to Zimbabwe or to Colombia or to so many different places. That would be amazing. And you're going to get lit up with that. And then obviously the next question is, well, I want to actually implement some systems. Where do I start? Jump on navispect.com, have a conversation, not a digital interaction, a conversation with Sam or one of his team that can help you. And that's ridiculously helpful. So Sam, thank you so much. Final question for you. I've been extrapolating some of these questions for myself. Like, where is this going? So, from you being a systems engineer, a software engineer, you worked in digital, in coding for years, and you're now helping companies really transform using this as a tool without outsourcing their brain. Where do you see this going 10, 15, 20 years from now? If I had to say, unplugged Sam, where is the future heading?
We're we're entering the next. It's like the Industrial Revolution, but it's taking that one took kind of the toil out of like actual manual labor. We're now taking the toil out of thought work, knowledge work. But in all of this, we just keep seeing the core of who God created man to be, that make the garden. Like that wasn't primarily dig holes in the garden. That was, wow, I can totally see this hedge right here. Oh, we should totally clip it this way, Eve. That was the way that God created us. And that is staying preserved through all of these things. So we're already seeing this, like on this software project we were just working on. We we were at the beginning we were coding it, and as we got into it and we brought in a contractor that had more experience with some of the new AI coding tools that had just come out a few like weeks after we started the project, he started implementing them, and they went from something that just a few years ago I would have said, yeah, give us 2 weeks and then we'll be back to you. And now I tell him one day and the next day he's like, here it is. And it's just done. And so we can now have conversations. This is where I see it going, is you and I go to coffee and we turn our phone on and we put it in the middle of the table and say, hey, I got this great business idea. And then we start having that conversation, and the app listens to what we say. And then we say, hey, did we forget anything? It goes, how are you going to pitch this to investors? Have you thought about this legal implication? We talk through that, and then it goes, okay, the app is live. The sales page is live. You're hooked up to your CRM, and you're ready to make the marketing, push right now. Here's the plan. Go ahead and let's now we have to approve it, of course, but we can start businesses. We can test businesses in a matter of hours, I think, instead of it being something, that takes forever. It's kind of like it was in, Eric Little's story from the missionary to China and the Olympian and stuff. When he made his last trip out of China to the United States and Canada, he took a boat, and they were hunted by Japanese submarines. This was during World War II, across to North America. And then he went all the way back around the world to China. That wasn't that long ago. But you think about those type of trips, those were week or 2 week trips, and they shrank down to several hour trips. Yeah. And we're used to that now, but that's happening with starting businesses and new initiatives with AI.
And it's wide open to those that know their God will do great exploits. I just think it's wide open for us to engage. And I just love how you've just framed it. Don't outsource your dominion. Don't outsource your stewardship, but engage, take responsibility, and then come back to this great question of, where is the highest and best use of my time as a husband, as a father, as a leader, as a community influencer, as a trainer of the next generation. This becomes a tool to really protect and preserve that if we'll do this with wisdom. So thank you so much, Sam. Really appreciate what you've done. And for those that are wanting more, jump onto navispect.com. Check out Sam's resources to help you in this space. And also jump on a call, book a call with him to help integrate some of those systems into your business. Have a great week.